Hey, it's Mr. Johns, Unit 3 already. That's true, we're here, and we're going to be discussing sharing the road, physics and driving, lane changes, passing shared turn lanes, and intersections. Those are our topics, and it would be so much easier if we were the only car on the road. Just us. Unfortunately, it's not the case. You must share the road with pedestrians, bicycles, motorcycles, large trucks, small trucks, medium-sized trucks, funeral processions, slow-moving vehicles, emergency vehicles, etc., etc. It's a busy place out there. Depending on where you live in Idaho, we're still very rural, and so you may not have as much traffic where you live compared to where someone else might live here in our great state, but you'll always be sharing the road with somebody. Let's talk about pedestrians. These stats are from 2015. There were 207 crashes involving just pedestrians and a vehicle. 8 of those crashes resulted in a fatality. Remember that pedestrians have the right of way when crossing at an intersection, whether it's marked or unmarked. So just always give them the right of way. And the law says you have to wait for pedestrians to completely cross the crosswalk before turning. And you don't see that very often. People go as soon as they can squeeze in. Just so you are aware of what the law is, you are supposed to let the pedestrian go all the way across before you turn. Be especially cautious around playgrounds, schools, etc., where kids could be playing. So let's take a look at how to protect pedestrians.
The 60-second driver.
Warmer weather brings a lot more people outside to enjoy walking, jogging, or rollerblading.
In many cases, these activities are done close to traffic and can be dangerous unless you follow these guidelines.
If you're walking and jogging and there's a sidewalk, use it. The sidewalk keeps you away from traffic and is much safer than using the roadway.
In areas where there is no sidewalk, it's better to use the left side of the road facing oncoming traffic. This way you'll be able to see the traffic coming well in advance.
And when you're out walking, wear bright reflective clothing that's easily visible, even during the day.
If you're driving in an area where pedestrians are using the road, slow down, signal, and move over if it's safe to do so. Leave enough space so you can pass the pedestrian safely. Pedestrians do have rights to the road.
For more driving tips, watch The 60-Second Driver, Thursdays at 6 on CTV News. Brought to you by Manitoba Public Insurance.
All right, so some tips on helping protect pedestrians. As a new driver, it's important that you understand that one of our jobs as a driver is to protect other people. Now, if we're self-centered, we're selfish, we don't care, that's an issue. I've had students ask me outright, why would I have to protect other people? Why should I care? It's a shared responsibility. We do share the road with so many other people. So this is a pedestrian crosswalk intersection in Tokyo. I've been there once. It wasn't quite this crowded, but people do go there just to see the amount of pedestrians. 2,500 people cross every time the light changes. Not each day. Every single time the light changes. That is bigger than a lot of Idaho towns. So bicycles, let's talk about them. In 2015, there were 286 car crashes with bicycles. None were fatal that year. You should give cyclists at least 3 feet, and you'll see that question on a quiz. 3 feet of space when passing them. Children on bikes can be very unpredictable. They're not thinking, when it comes to children, period, just remember, they're not thinking in your world. Their world is on the ground, on a bike, skateboard, scooter, soccer ball, whatever. They really don't think about cars, so they can just flip around and do a U-turn on a moment's notice. Cyclists do not have to stop at a stop sign if there are no cars. So that's Idaho law. A bicycle does not have to stop at a stop sign if there's no cross traffic. They can just blow right through it. They can go at a red light, but they have to stop first. So if you see a bicyclist that appears to be running the red light, as long as they stop first, they can just go. And cyclists must ride on the right side of the road. The right side of the road. Motorcycles. In 2015, there were 546 crashes with motorcycles. 28 of those were fatal. They're smaller than a car, harder to see. Oftentimes, the riders will weave in and out of traffic, go a little faster than they should. Remember that they don't have windshield wipers, don't have airbags, don't have bumpers, don't have a lot of the safety features that a car has. People do choose to ride, and I've ridden myself in the past. It's a choice, and it's a risky choice for sure. So there's another reason why, as a car driver, we want to help protect these riders. So little things like potholes or little rain on the road can be a big issue, whereas in a car, not such an issue. So you can help them by looking twice. So here's a quick little video on how to protect motorcycles. This video was famous kind of went viral for a while.
How close does a motorcycle have to be before you see it? Here or here? At an intersection, look, then look again. Think. Look twice for motorcyclists.
And so the thing about that's interesting is that video was created right here in Idaho. And like I said, it kind of went viral, at least in the motorcycle and traffic safety community. But among riders and traffic people, everyone saw that when it first came out. And it's kind of old now, but it's a little bit shocking when you first see it. But it's true. Just look again. Cars are easy to see, motorcycles not so much. So large trucks, something else we share the road with. So they take much longer to start and stop. They need more room to turn. They have larger blind spots. So they have an area behind and around them called the no zone. And all those areas in blue here in the graphic, you'll see those are areas where you should not be. So don't draft right behind the truck. Don't be right in front of his front bumper. Now, of course, he'd be tailgating, but you should not be there. If there was a truck that size right on my bumper, I would do a lane change. And then those other areas are his blind spots. So if he can't see you, he can just run you over. Basically, if you can't see his eyes, he can't see you. So I always look in his mirrors to see if he can see me. Because if I can see his eyes, he can see me. And if I can't even see the driver, I'm probably in his blind spot and I need to move. Funeral processions, you don't see that often anymore, but they are still a thing. And the first and last vehicles in the procession must, by law, have their headlights and hazards on. That's a quiz question. All vehicles in the procession will have their headlights on. They can go through red lights and they will stay together. So typically they are being escorted by motorcycle policemen in the front and back. Do not join or cross. Even if there's a gap, don't try to join them or cross. It is respectful to pull over. It's not something you have to do, but a lot of drivers will show respect for that funeral procession just by pulling over and allowing them time to go by. So other drivers have to yield to a funeral procession. So if your light's green but there's a funeral procession, just know that they have the right of way. So slow-moving vehicles, speaking of rural, small areas in Idaho, where a lot of you are from, you'll see a lot of these things, tractors for the most part, but there are others as well. So these are vehicles designed to travel slower than 25. That's a question you'll see multiple times. 25 miles per hour or less is a slow-moving vehicle. They have to have brake signals and a sign on the back. So to be on the road, they have to have brake lights, they have to have blinkers, even tractors, things like that. And they have to display a slow-moving vehicle sign. So the two signs that get confused a lot, one is a yield sign, and that's an upside-down triangle. So you maybe saw that previously, but you'll see that more in the future. But a slow-moving vehicle is a normal triangle. The orange part of it is a triangle, and then it has kind of red border that's chopped off on each tip. That's the best description I can come up with. But so just memorize those two so you don't get them confused. Slow-moving vehicles can only be on roads during the daylight hours, and just be ready to yield to them. You could come around a corner and have a tractor going 20 miles an hour right in front of you legally, so be aware. Here's a great example. So now this is a double yellow line. You can't pass. That is frustrating, but it's the law. So that tractor is going 25 or less. You are following at a safe distance and waiting for an opportunity to pass him legally. All right, responding to emergency vehicles, another group of vehicles that you'll be sharing the road with. When an emergency vehicle comes up behind you with lights flashing or sirens sounding, so it's or. Lights flashing and or siren sounding. So if you see lights or you hear a siren, you must pull over to the right side of the road and stop. Now it's the closest to the right that you can get. You may not be able to get all the way to the right, so you kind of just squeeze over a little bit to the right, but that's the law. All right, so if there's an emergency ahead of you, you must slow down. And if there is more than one lane, you need to change lanes and be on the left side. So pretty dangerous when these people are trying to get somewhere to save a life or put out a fire, and traffic is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So physics definitely have a part. Physics definitely has a part in driving, because you're going to be jumping into a 3,000 to 4,000 pound vehicle, driving around winding roads through traffic. That vehicle is a moving object, and so physics definitely comes into play. So if you understand a little bit of physics, some of Newton's laws, it helps. I mean, a car is a great example of physics. So if you understand a little bit about momentum, gravity, inertia, all that stuff, it will help you control your vehicle. Cars just want to keep on moving. They're heavy and they have momentum. So weight plus no traction, crazy ice action. So I love this graphic of that bear out of control sliding down the mountain. So with dry roads, good tires, good brakes, clear visibility, everything's perfect. Cars are fairly easy to control, actually, but rarely are the roads perfect. So it's important to understand this stuff. Gravity, the natural gravity on our planet, keeps your car from floating away. And floating sounds fun, but so far cars that stay on the road are safer to drive. So let's talk about speed and weight. So there's a little bit of math here to at least understand, at least have an appreciation for. So a vehicle's energy of motion changes in proportion to the square of the change in speed, blah, blah. What's that mean? And that's math, math vocabulary, math terminology. So basically, if you double your speed, it's going to be the square of that. So you're doubling it, right? So 2 times 2, 4. So 4 times the distance to stop. So if you just go from 20 miles an hour in your neighborhood to 40 miles an hour on a city road, it's now going to take your car 4 times the distance to stop. In your neighborhood, if you have to slam on your brakes and stop, it's going to stop pretty quickly. Applying the same amount of brake and trying to stop as quick, the same amount of time, it's not going to happen at 40. It's going to take 4 times the distance to stop. And when you go to 20 to 60, it's 9. So 20 to 60, that's 3 times faster. And so the square of that, 3 times 3, is 9. So it's going to take 9 times the distance to stop. Now that's for a normal car. If you're a truck loaded down with sand or gravel or rocks, it's even worse. So it is super important to understand that if you always think your car is going to stop in 10 feet, you are wrong. So Newton's laws, the first one is the law of inertia. Every object in motion tends to stay in motion until an external force acts upon it. The same goes for an object that is not moving. It will stay not moving until an external force acts upon it. So an example is a car driving into a corner will want to keep going straight. That has inertia. So it will keep going that way until we force it to not go that way. And that is by steering, by turning, by slowing down. The second law is the law of acceleration. The greater the mass or the weight of the vehicle, the more force is needed to put the vehicle in motion. So if you're at a red light and the truck next to you wants to drag race you and you're in a light Mustang, the light turns green, boom, you both step on the gas. The greater the mass, the more force is needed to put the vehicle in motion. That truck is going to start slower. It's going to take longer to speed up. Newton's third law: for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This one's my favorite. A car that crashes at 55 miles an hour will send the occupants of that vehicle forward at 55 miles per hour. Period. Now, if you have seatbelts on, awesome. Probably save your life. If there are airbags in your car, awesome. Probably save your life. But you are being hurtled forward at 55 miles an hour. That seatbelt will slow you down. Those airbags will slow you down. But for a moment, you are going 55 miles per hour. So imagine no seatbelt, no airbags. The result, the picture here on your screen, the driver left the vehicle. Typically doesn't end well. What happens when rear passengers aren't wearing their seatbelts in a crash?
In a crash at 30 miles an hour, an adult backseat passenger without a seatbelt is thrown forward with a force of 3.5 tons. The weight of an elephant, charging straight through the driver. You're never safe in the back until you fasten your seatbelt. Never forget.
Oh, okay. So something that a lot of people don't think about are unbelted rear passengers. And if you jump in and put on your seatbelt, but your friends in the back don't put on theirs, and you get in a crash, your seatbelt, your airbag might have done just fine, except for your rear passenger flying forward and slamming into the back of you at 55 miles per hour and killing you. Force of impact: when two objects collide, there's always three factors that determine how much force there is on impact. Number one is speed, how fast you're going. Number two, weight, how much does the car and the occupants and everything in it weigh. And the duration, how quickly does the car come to a stop. So crashing into a soft bush or into a swimming pool is different than hitting a bridge or a tree. Friction. It's the force between two surfaces that resist each other. So the amount of friction between two surfaces depends on a bunch of things. Really, the important thing is good tire traction. And so this graphic here on the right in the white, this shows good tires and 4 tires on a vehicle. And those 4 rectangles are the only things holding the car on the road. And that's if you have good tires with good traction. So 4,000-pound car held on the road with these little tiny areas. So there's, again, physics happening here. And you want to keep your tires newish. Make sure you understand when it's time to get new tires, and also understand that a 4,000-pound car can only do so much. If it's going too fast in a corner, it may not be able to stay on the road. So there are 3 collisions in every crash. The first one is when the vehicle hits another object, another car, the bridge, the tree. Number 2, the body hits the inside of the car. Your head slams into the dashboard or the windshield. Number 3, your internal organs slam into the inside of your body. Your heart, your lungs, your brain. They too go 55 miles an hour or whatever speed you're driving. And you don't have airbags inside your head. All right, change the subject just a little bit. Lane changes. So one of the things that you'll be practicing in driver's ed quite a bit, lane changes. You'll be using Smog. Now your instructor may have their own terminology for this, so use what they teach. The way that I've always taught it was smog. So signal first. So if you're doing a left lane change, you're going to signal left, click, 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 click. Check your mirrors. Inside mirror first, and if you're doing a left lane change, your outside left mirror. And then O, over your shoulder, check on that blind spot. G is go if and when it's clear. So smog, signal, mirrors, over the shoulder, go. That's what smog stands for. And that might help you kind of practice your lane changes. So here's a visual of a good lane change.
The 60-second driver.
When changing lanes, your vehicle's mirrors can help you see what's around you.
But the mirrors will not show you what's in your blind spots.
Blind spots are located to the left and right of your vehicle, which you can't see unless you turn your head. You must shoulder check to ensure that there is nothing in your blind spot. To properly shoulder check, turn your head until your chin reaches your shoulder, then glance to the side towards the rear. This should be done quickly so your attention can return to the road ahead. Avoid turning your upper body. This takes your eyes off the road for longer than necessary and could cause a collision.
Once you've checked your blind spot, change lanes if it's safe.
And don't forget to use your signal before changing lanes.
For more driving tips, watch the 60-second driver Thursday.
All right, so just keep in mind that when you're doing your over-the-shoulder check, you are not looking at the road, and that's why that has to be a quick action, just from the neck, not the upper body. So it is signal, check your mirrors, over your shoulder, and then go if it's clear. All right, that blind spot check, remember that depending on how you set up your mirrors, those blind spots can be larger or smaller. So it does take practice to do lane changes, and you'll do quite a few in driver's ed. One of the skills that you just need to do over and over and over again. All right, so what if you're doing a lane change and there's not a gap for a lane change? Well, if you cancel your signal, they think you changed your mind. So you should keep your signal on, look back and again, and again. And a lot of times a car will see what you're trying to do and they'll let you in. If not, just be patient. You can't slow down traffic behind you. So worst case scenario, yes, you might have to change your mind. If no one's letting you in and there is no gap, you can't force your way in. But typically, in my experience, blinker on, couple over-the-shoulder checks, someone will let you in. All right, forced lane changes. When your lane ends or you're merging, you have to do a lane change. So you can't stop. I mean, legally you could stop, but it's not safe. So your lane ends, you're going to have to find a gap and make it happen. So zipper merging is what they're recommending these days.
Last-minute mergers on highways are often blamed for causing a little bit of road rage, but engineers in a handful of states are now encouraging drivers to use what they're calling the zipper merge. It's when drivers wait until the final moments to join a single lane of traffic before the construction zones. Chris Van Cleve is driving through the 395 tunnel under construction in Washington to explain this controversial move. Chris, good morning.
Well, good morning. This construction zone is one where lanes can go away. It can be very congested with speeds very low. It's perfect for the zipper merge. The challenge is getting all these drivers to understand it's okay to merge at the last minute.
I stay in that lane as long as possible, and then I merge into it.
Can you really blame Deanna Graves? When the other cars line up in the right lane, all that empty pavement's on the left just sitting there unused. Now, some traffic engineers are saying, go, use that space. So it's okay to cut.
It's okay to take turns.
Kansas is one of at least 8 states to try what's known as the zipper merge system. The State Department of Transportation put up signs asking drivers to use both lanes and take turns near a bridge construction project outside Kansas City. KDOT's finding what this does is bring predictability to the commute. They know that it takes 5 to 6 minutes to get through the work zone, even in peak traffic. And from the air, you can see the cars keep moving and they come together, well, like the teeth of a zipper, hence the zipper merge. All right, so both lanes are in use. We're moving. Traffic engineer Christy Erickson showed us the zipper. And
And they made a gap.
And they made a gap. They weren't sure if they were going to at first, yeah.
One of the big challenges has been retraining drivers not to merge early. Some states have gotten creative to explain how lining up ahead of time can increase the backup.
If they just do the zipper merge, that line wouldn't be so long.
Several studies point to the benefits of zipper merging, including up to 50% shorter lines, a reduction in speeds around construction workers, and drivers reporting less anxiety and frustration. But transportation officials in other states aren't entirely convinced.
We understand it's about convenience in some other areas, but here in California, we're all about safety.
Caltrans spokesman Mark Dinger says his state continues to encourage drivers to merge early.
We don't want those people to cut in at the very last second. Not only can it lead to road rage incidents, but again, it can lead to sudden braking, which can cause a direct collision.
Do you see a day where the zipper merge is the norm?
Yeah, it's not something that we're going to have to sign and teach forever. It's just kind of one of those things that will come along as our cities grow.
That comes as welcome news to Deanna Graves.
So this is really like a life-changing day for you. You're no longer the bad driver on the road.
My life is complete, yes. Yes.
The zipper merge only works in high-traffic, low-speed situations. If it's a work zone where you're traveling closer to freeway speeds, experts say it is still better to merge early and safely. Nora?
Chris, thank you. Well, that makes sense, because I feel like when you're on the highway, everybody's going fast. It takes a while to get over.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be the safest thing to do, I have to say.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
So kind of a controversial topic for sure. I'm not even really sure how I feel about it. I think if I were to choose one or the other, I'd say merge early. Everybody feels like people are cutting in front of them when that happens. And I know we get frustrated when people just fly by us and we've been waiting in line for 5 minutes. And then they do the zipper merge later. So it doesn't quite seem fair. But it does come down to safety. Whatever is safest is what we should do. Passing on 2-lane roads. Driver's ed, that's something that a lot of times we don't even practice. It may not be worth practicing. Because you are in the wrong lane for a short period of time or a long period of time, depending. So nationally, passing accounts for almost 1/5, for about 1/5 of all fatalities. So do you need to pass? That's the question. Passing another vehicle at 60 miles an hour can take half a minute and 2/3 of a mile. If a vehicle is slowing down 3 or more vehicles in Idaho, you must pull over. That's a law. So a lot of times I'll just wait until there's a passing lane and hope someone's going to pull over and let us pass. So, for example, from Boise to McCall or further up, there are passing lanes every, say 5 or 10 miles. As long as you can be patient, wait for those passing lanes. That's your opportunity to pass safely instead of being in the wrong lane, the opposite lane. So, shared turn lanes. We talked about this a little bit briefly, a little bit earlier. And again, something you'll have to practice in driver's ed and then practice when you're with a licensed adult. So you can't drive further than 200 feet in a shared turn lane. 200 feet in a shared turn lane. Let's talk about intersections. A great example of needing to safely and legally share the road is the fact that you will come upon other vehicles often, about every mile in a city or even in the country. You'll have a lot of intersections, and so it's your responsibility to identify what's going on in front of you. In this photo, would you know what to do in this lane of traffic right here? So there's a lot going on. This road marking says straight only. So then I would look up ahead, look at the signs. Sure enough, that sign says straight only. Not really sure what that one is. It looks like it's a faded no left turn sign. So I can't turn left. I know I can only go straight. The light's red, so I'm going to have to come to a stop. And that's kind of what I need to know, I think. So once you kind of analyze the intersection, it helps a lot. So the types of intersections, one is a Y intersection where it splits. So you need to know whether you need to stay left or stay right. A T intersection is when your road ends, you have to stop and yield to cross traffic. So you can see it looks like a T. And typically we always say you're kind of the car here with the A on the roof, and you have to stop and allow cross traffic to go. Four-way stops are the thing that freaks out most drivers. I think when I ask my driver's ed students, what's the one thing that makes you nervous? Four-way stops. And it's not because they don't know how to do it, it's the awkwardness of it. They don't want to be staring at the other cars and no one knows what to do. It's like a nightmare situation. It's really not that bad. Just remember that the first car to get there goes first. Okay, that's it. When I'm approaching an intersection and it looks like I'm going to get there at the same time as another car, I slow down and let the other car get there first. Problem solved. If two cars stop at the same time, the car on the right has the right of way. Memorize that. The car on the right has the right of way. If cars stop at the same time and they're facing each other, let's say they're both going straight, you can both just go. However, if one has the blinker on, you should always let the car going straight go first. You never turn in front of another car. Okay, so that's just a few of the rules. If for some weird reason all four cars get there at the same time exactly and they stop at the same time, just be the polite person and just give the person on your right a little wave, and then the next car on the right has the right of way, and then it just works its way around the intersection. It's really easy. So here's a visual of how that works.
Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about the four-way stop. In the manual it says that the first vehicle to arrive at the intersection has the right of way, and if you're not sure, the vehicle on the right gives them the right of way. Remember, the right of way is never taken, it's always given. We're going to give you a little bit more information about the four-way stop, particularly when the intersection's busy. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Driver. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about the four-way stop. In the manual, it says that the first vehicle to arrive at the intersection has the right of way. As well, if you're unsure when you arrive at the intersection, give the right of way to the vehicle on the right. Now, there's a couple other things you need to know, particularly when four-way stops get busy and where you need to stop for the purposes of a road test. I'll put a video up here for you for the complete stopping positions at stop sign intersections. Look at that video, know where you need to stop. Most four-way stops are going to have stop lines, so it's not going to be confusing about where you stop because these intersections are busy. They have crosswalks, as you can see here in the image, with pedestrians, and you're going to have to give the right of way to pedestrians. As well, when they're busy, they take turns. It's almost as if your lane of traffic goes and then the cross traffic goes. If two vehicles are proceeding straight, the two vehicles can go through the intersection at the same time, and then the other lane of traffic takes its turn.
And two left-turning vehicles across from one another can proceed at the same time.
So I'm going to stop that right there. That's a 4-minute video, and we don't need to watch all of it. You can certainly go to the other presentation without audio and watch all of that if you'd like, as well as have access to his link that he mentioned. But the basic thing is just to understand those situations, and the car, whoever gets there first goes first, and the car on the right has the right of way. That's really all you need to know about four-way stops. Two-way stops, where two of the sides have a stop sign and the others don't. That's called a two-way stop. So the cars with the stop sign have to yield to the cars that don't have the stop sign. That's pretty self-explanatory. Roundabouts, interesting kind of new-ish intersection in Idaho. They're discovering that there's less crashes because cars can't get T-boned in there, or there's less chance of a T-bone in this kind of situation where you have to just join the circle, go around to your exit, and exit. So before you join a roundabout, you simply have to look out for traffic and make sure that you have a gap to get into. They're pretty simple. Uncontrolled intersections, these are neighborhood intersections, places where there are no stop signs or lights. You should treat it like a four-way stop. Whoever gets there first goes first, otherwise the car on the right has the right of way. And that is it for the Unit 3 presentations. If you have any questions about any of that, shoot me an email or a text or give me a call so I can help you understand some things a little bit better. Otherwise, I will see you in Unit 4.